Does safety in Paraguay need to be taken into your own hands? With the most liberal gun laws of Latin America, Paraguay feels a little bit like the Wild West. But is that what you really want? Living the life of an outlaw cowboy in the middle of nowhere with your own ranch? Well, let's dive into the life in Paraguay and see what it's all about. Why would I know? I'm Paul. I'm a 40-year-old nomad and I've traveled the world. I've been to 60 countries and lived on 4 continents. And for the past 4 years, I've traveled South America with my partner Alexandra all over and our nice dear Toyota Prado. Check out the videos on this channel if you want to learn more about life in Latin America. And if you need more information, go ahead with the link in the description and get a one-on-one coaching with me. But first off, in the last video, we discussed the subject of getting Paraguay residency. And you guys gave me a lot of feedback. It was overwhelmingly positive. I'm so happy you guys want to go ahead and take the move to Paraguay. But there were a lot of questions that stayed unanswered. So at the end of this video, I will try to dive into those questions. So stay tuned for that. But for now, the Wild West of Paraguay. When arriving in Paraguay, you will realize that life in Paraguay is kind of split into 2 parts. There is the fancy city life of Asunción, a 2 million people metropolis. But then you go to the countryside and suddenly you feel like you're back in the old Western movies. If you want that, you can go ahead and buy yourself a ranch in the middle of nowhere. You can have horses, a pickup truck, and a rifle. You can farm the land, you can have your own livestock, be a cowboy, and live with your own cattle. So suddenly you feel like in a world that is extremely old. Wait, not that old, still Paraguay, but you know what I mean. Basically, you're set back like 100 years and you can be somewhere off-grid. And for the right kind of people, this is exactly what they want. And that's why you will experience the cold winters of Paraguay, where you're gonna have your own cattle farm and the frost at night. And you'll experience the hot summers. And you can go out with your dogs and hike the land. There's beautiful waterfalls and there's tropical rainforests with other forests and fields. Everything is possible. You can drink your tereré, which is cold mate tea, or even hot, depending on how you like it. I call it the liquid nicotine. It's very strong, and once you get hooked on it, the only way to get off it is leaving South America.
Not addicted at all.
So for the right kind of person, you can play out your Wild West fantasies and become the cowboy in South America. And what does that really look like? Is it really necessary to protect yourself with your own weapons? Are you gonna fight off intruders? Is the police really that corrupt? Well, actually, Paraguay is one of the safest countries in Latin America, with Asunción being one of the safest cities overall. What's going on here? What's special about Paraguay is that Paraguay, for over the last 100 years, wanted to have immigration. There has been a huge war, the War of Triple Alliances against the neighboring countries, and that was devastating for Paraguay. And ever since then, Paraguay is searching for people that want to come and farm the land. So it's open to all foreigners, and you can see that there's colonies of European settlers, there's colonies of Japanese settlers all over the country. And so traditionally, Paraguay has always been very welcoming when it comes to people from other countries. Also, the country of Paraguay is one of the last Latin American countries with a very traditional government system. They want to keep traditional in all leagues of life, and you can feel it through and through. When neighboring countries all turn liberal, socialist, communist, Paraguay wants to stay stable and have traditional family norms. And that's very nice. Paraguayan people are very welcoming. They're very traditional set in their ideas, but they respect you as long as you respect them. Now, what about the whole police situation? You always hear about corrupt police. Well, like it is in many countries, sometimes it can happen that you're getting into conflicts. But are these conflicts really happening a lot in Paraguay? Actually, when you look at the crime rate of Paraguay, it's so low that it's not really a topic that you are concerned about on a regular basis. The crimes that we have encountered or heard of, because personally we haven't actually had any problems, we've heard of crimes of jealousy or petty thefts, or sometimes people mistreated other people and there were revenge crimes. But so as long as you are respectful with the people living in Paraguay, you shouldn't have any problems. And what about the police? Well, a countryside cop barely earns enough money to feed his family. And with all the cops having to buy their own bullets for their own guns, and a bullet costing $1 to $2 each, it's sometimes the situation that you could find people, police, that stops you and just tries to find a problem with what's going on in your life. But to be honest, we have been in this situation quite a lot of times, but as long as you stay sturdy, you know you didn't do anything wrong, usually when you talk to them in a very friendly manner, they will understand that there's really nothing to gain. Now, in the case you did really something wrong, let's say they fine you for some kind of traffic situation, we have heard that for some reason foreigners tend to get the highest possible fees. And we have also heard that it's custom that you negotiate that fee down. And I think if you go down to about a third of what they were asking for, that's usually a good position to be in. So maybe try that the next time you get into a conflict. So if the safety is so great, what about guns? Why do you even need guns? Well, the interesting thing about Paraguay is it has one of the most liberal gun laws in Latin America. And here in this channel, we believe in fighting for your own freedom. And part of that freedom, when you have the right to bear arms, is to take your own safety into your own hands. Now, you don't have to get a gun to protect yourself in Paraguay, but the option is there, and it's good to support these options. But let's set some ground rules here. It's important to be a responsible gun owner and always keep the 4 safety rules of gun ownership in mind. When you have a gun, always treat the gun like as if it's loaded. Never point the gun at nothing you want to destroy. Always make sure to keep the finger off the trigger until you actually need to use it. And always be concerned of where you're pointing it and what's happening behind that. So make sure that once you own a gun, that you're actually practicing owning that gun. Now with those ground rules set, let's talk a little bit about gun ownership in Paraguay. The gun laws in Paraguay are very close to those typical gun laws you will find in some of the more liberal gun states in the United States. So what you can do is there are certain places like gun stores where you can come in and choose the gun of your choice. You will have to bring your ID card, the cédula. With that ID card, the owner of the gun store will go ahead and check your ID and your identification. It will take about 2 weeks to get a card, a gun owner card for the gun that you choose, and after 2 weeks you're allowed to pick that up. You can buy rifles and you can buy handguns, and once you have the gun you can disassemble the gun, have it in a carrying case, and bring the gun home to your own place. At your own place you're allowed to use this gun for protection. Now you can also disassemble the gun and bring it to a gun range and practice. Practicing your shooting skills is probably a good idea just to kind of get comfortable with it and don't do anything stupid with your own gun. You can also apply for a concealed carry permit. In Paraguay, you can actually carry a gun in a holster concealed under your clothing. In order to apply for that, you will also go into the gun store, and there you usually are asked for a reason as to why you want that. And within a few weeks, you will be able to get that concealed carry permit. The permit itself is going to be registered to that one gun you want to use as a concealed carry gun. With this gun, you can then walk around in all of Paraguay, besides the exceptions of certain buildings and grocery stores that will have a no-gun zone, and you should respect those. In the meantime, you can put your gun and lock it in a box inside your car. Now, in terms of pricing, it costs about $10 a month, so about $120, $130 a year in order to have that concealed carry permits. Another thing that is very important for you to know is the prices of the guns. A typical handgun you might want to buy, like a Glock 19, costs about 3 times as much as it does in the United States or somewhere in Europe. So let's say in the US you can get a Glock 19 for $500. In Paraguay, you probably have to deal with about $1,500 for that gun. Another thing you might want to consider is importing the gun from the US or from Europe to Paraguay. But we are aware that, first of all, you need to deregister the gun in the United States or in Europe, and then you need to re-register it in Paraguay, and that will cost. Also, they will ask you to pay import fees for the value of the gun. So sometimes that can add up to almost the same price of what you would pay in Paraguay anyways. So if that's something you would be interested in, let me know. You can always do a one-on-one coaching with me and we can talk about this more in detail. The residency helper that we are working with has a lot of experience in this regard. So hit us up for that. So to summarize, for the right kind of person, so having your own farm with your own livestock, living on the countryside with a country that has traditional values and people that respect you, and this charming feeling of being in Paraguay and playing your wild, wild west fantasies could be something that is just the right thing for you. So now if what I was just talking about right now sounds completely alien to you and it's just not the right fit, I will tell you in an upcoming video about the other side of Paraguay. So we have modern cities with high-rise buildings, shopping centers, hipster areas with coffee shops and bars and nightlife. It's everything you ever dreamed of. But more about that another time. So now let's go to your questions from your Paraguay residency video. So when you apply as a family, what counts as a family member? Well, the family is the nucleus family. So if you are a husband and wife and kids up until the age of 18, that can apply. That's not your uncle, your cousin, your parents. It's really just a nucleus family that counts as one family. So how old can your documents be when you apply for Paraguay residency? Now, you need the birth certificate, you need a criminal record, and a marriage certificate. The criminal record is the one document you need to be careful with. It can be less than 6 months old, so keep that in mind. What happens if you actually have a criminal record? Now, small crimes are not necessarily a problem. As long as the fine is paid off, it doesn't matter if with prison time or actually financial fines, and the actual crime has been more than 2 years in the past, then it shouldn't be a problem. Now, if there is a bigger crime, I think the best way to determine if it's still possible to get Paraguay residency is to talk to the residency helper. Now, if that's something that you're concerned about, just book a one-on-one coaching with me and we'll figure that out for you. Is it possible to get all the documents from your own home country while living outside of your country? Well, generally, yes. Most applicants should be able to communicate either with their embassies or with the actual offices in your own home country, and it should be possible to get the countries from overseas. Now, obviously, every country is different, and I can't really tell you that, but most of my clients actually have the opportunity to stay outside of their own country and still find the documents. It might just take a little bit longer. So in the last video, we talked about that Paraguay residency now has a two-step process. 2 years, you get a temporary residency, and then after those 2 years, you get the permanent residency. Some people are concerned that that means that now it takes longer for you to eventually get citizenship. The situation is following. With the old system, it was actually kind of hard to get citizenship. After about 3 years of being a resident of Paraguay, you were able to apply for the citizenship program. But that program itself took from 5 to 10 years, and it was very vague and pretty hard to get that citizenship. Now with the new program, you have to wait until you have permanent residency and then 3 years, so it's 5 years. But then the application process for the citizenship is only 2 years. And this time there is a clear step-by-step process. So if you're in the market for citizenship of Paraguay, I can help you with that and I can connect you with the right residency helper that will help you with that process. So some people asked me if I can sponsor them for a tourist visa in order to get into Paraguay, and the answer is no. Unfortunately, that is not possible. None of the residency helpers that we are working with and that we talk to actually sponsor anyone for a tourist visa. Unfortunately, that's one of the hurdles, like I explained in my last videos, that you have to overcome yourself. So what you can do is you can research, maybe you have some connections in Paraguay, maybe you can get to know someone, I can help you with that. But some countries actually do have to get a sponsorship from somebody already living inside of Paraguay. So maybe you can find someone that can help you. Now overall, why would anyone ever want to live in Paraguay? Well, if this video now didn't convince you, I can tell you that in the next video we'll talk about the other side of Paraguay. We're talking about startup investors, renewable energies, cryptocurrency mining, and all kinds of other stuff. So stay tuned for that. And up until then, get more information in clicking on this video here, and then we'll see you next.